Do you like committing serious crimes against a country? Do you hate dictatorships? Do you like explosions? Well, I have the game for you. Just Cause 3. A game that just wants you to destroy everyone and everything. And the only thing stopping you is the ground. The message behind this game is simple. It's all about freedom and liberating a country in need, by any means necessary. The country that is in need of liberating and freedom is the lovely Medici. And the man that will be liberating Medici will be Rico Rodriguez. And the only way Rico is going to do his job is by destroying everything with the colour red. Wait, not that, that's a car, that's a civil. Well, there might be more casualties. The main objective to beat this game is by toppling General Di Ravello from power and freeing the people of this country. Di Ravello has taken every single city, town and military base, and the only way to progress through the game is by tearing down propaganda and infrastructure in these places. However, the map is fucking huge. You start off here on this island, and it's a big one, but it gets even bigger. But this game does things differently, and instead of doing the boring option of driving a car to get to your destination, you can use the grappling hook instead, allowing you to swing from building to building as if you're Spider-Man. The only difference between Rico and Spider-Man is that Spider-Man isn't committing guerrilla warfare against the inhabitants of a country. Then add an infinite parachute and you have the second best way to get around. But introducing the greatest way to travel in any video game ever, the wingsuit. I cannot think of any other means of travel in another video game that is this fun as the grappling hook and wingsuit combination. The freedom of movement in this massive open world is simply so fun to enjoy. With just these three tools, Rico can fly into a military base to tear everything down with the grappling hook by tethering objects together and then fly away. But to make things a bit more easier for Rico, you can also use the arsenal weapons that we have. From dual wielding pistols to assault rifles to RPGs to laser pointed bombers and to finally, infinite C4. Guys, I think we might be crossing the line this time. All of these weapons are great ways to destroy and take over settlements without vehicles. Speaking of vehicles, there are a lot of them. From motorcycles, modern cars to off-road cars, sports cars, speedboats, tanks, fighter jets, attack helicopters. The handling of the cars in the game are okay, but nothing special. But when you have enough speed, you can drift. You can now turn Rico into a Fast and Furious character. Motorcycles are a bit shit, but you can do drive-bys with them, so that makes up for the crap handling. Jets and helicopters are excellent and always fun to play with. However, just remember the button to slow down. In one of the missions, I completely forget the button on how to slow down in a plane, so I end up nosediving the plane into the ground. It just so happens that in this mission, I am flying the political rival of Di Ravello. Now that is a flying start to your political campaign. There's a lot of toys to play with, and it couldn't get any better. However, these vehicles are designed to be really tough. But the moment you jump out, the smallest scrape will cause it to explode. And I really do mean the smallest scrape. You can just slightly nudge a car, and it just explodes. As long as you're pointing these cars and jets into the right things, and not the wrong things. Wait, no. How about pointing at this instead? I'm sure those gentlemen would love to be extra crispy today. While you're at it, don't forget to hit and destroy anything with this nice shade of red. It progresses the game, and who doesn't like to look at explosions? Anything with this colour red needs to be destroyed, so fuel tanks, transformers, satellite dishes, substation controls, satcom dishes, radar spheres, and many other objects that need to go boom boom. If you think that Rico can take down this military all by himself, then you're wrong. He does, however, have a few connections on the island to help him with his crusade against Di Ravello. The rebels can help you clear out towns and cities and bases, while Rico's best friend can aid you by dropping supplies in small cargo containers. If you need any weapon or any vehicle, and I do mean any vehicle, Mario can get it to you, just as long as you have a beacon and enough space. Although, to even be able to get some of these weapons and vehicles, you need to tear down military bases and clear cities and towns. Or, you can just simply drive some of these cars to one of Mario's garages. At the start of the game, Rico and his toys are quite fragile.
I'm going to tell you something. It's hard being this good.
You can, however, upgrade your weapons, cars, planes, explosives, tethers to make them stronger and more productive by completing these challenges. Time trials in cars, boats and planes are pretty self-explanatory. Destruction challenges is just you re-destroying the base you just took over, just without enemies, and you've got to do it with a specific weapon or vehicle. Scrapyard Scramble is when you tether a huge magnet to the back of your car and try and collect as much Bavarium as you can in less than 2 minutes. Wingsuit challenges is just flying through checkpoints, and the more precise you are going through the checkpoints, the more points you gain. The gun range challenge is, well, a gun range. Riveting stuff. And finally, crash bomb challenges involve you driving a highly explosive vehicle into a military convoy. Why? Just cause! 3. The higher your score is in each of these challenges, the more cogs you obtain. And once you gather enough cogs, you can then get an upgrade. If there are some upgrades that you don't like, you can just simply turn them off in the upgrade menu and just play the game how you want to play it. This game is full of distractions. 1 minute, I'm making my way towards a mission, and then the next minute, I spot a train. And do you know what trains have on them? Planes. Woo! And then the next minute, I'm taking it off and flying it into an oil rig. Then, we have the story. Let's be real here. You don't play Just Cause for the story, right? You play it because of the fun and diabolical things you can do to the people of Medici. So, the story's pretty easy to take in. This is a spoiler warning for a game that came out 9 years ago. You have been warned. Rico returns to Medici, his home country, 20 years after he was forced to flee when Di Ravello killed his parents and took over the rest of the country. Tom Sheldon has joined Rico because Di Ravello has secret ties to the agency, the organisation that Rico works for, and Rico doesn't know anything about that. Rico flies into the country while it's in a state of war and somehow reunites with his best friend, Mario Frigo, and allies himself with the rebels. The scientist Dima is also part of the rebels. After being one of Di Ravello's scientists, she defects to help. She was assigned to research Bavarium, a metal that was only mined in Medici. And Di Ravello is trying ever so hard to weaponize this metal to use against the world. Rico liberates a town and V's Electra military base. It's at this point where Di Ravello notices Rico's return, so he orders his army to destroy a town and kill most of the rebels within the town premises. After the town is burned and lots of the rebels are dead, Rico responds with, well, committing more crimes against the military. During this time, another scientist decides to defect to the rebels. His name's Zeno. After Rico causes even more inconveniences around the island, Dima has found a solution to disarming the main military base on the island, and that solution is to follow some pipes. After you've done that, Rico then takes over the main military base of the island. Di Ravello then decides to send his whole army to crush Rico and the rebels, and that fails. How? Rico then flies on a big fuck-off missile and aims it back into the tower of the main military base. The rebels now have 1/3 of their country back, which means 2 more thirds to go. Rico then gets into contact with some other people on the other side of the country that can help their cause, but they won't help unless you help them steal a special tank. Riveting. These special tanks have Bavarium shields surrounding them, and it was the agency who gave them to Di Ravello. Now that is a plot twist. Later on, we then go and destroy even more of these special tanks with an EMP, even though I could have just used one of these. Di Ravello then sends a whole naval force to kill everyone in the cove, which they are using as a hideout. But thanks to Rico's guerrilla warfare tactics, they destroyed the naval force. Rico then comes to the conclusion that there is a mole within the rebels. Phenomenal storytelling. Guess what? More pipes! The central command base for this section of the country is now under rebel control, which means Mustache Man is not going to be very happy. So Wario then decides to send out a big attack to retake the islands from the rebels, and that plan fails thanks to Rico and his very shiny toys. Big news! Rosa Manuela is returning to Medici. You're probably sat there thinking to yourself, Who the fuck is Rosa Manuela? She is the political rival to Waluigi and is now back after having to flee the country after many years. It's then revealed that Zeno, that scientist that defected a while ago, is the mole in the rebels. Incredible writing. So, we lock him up. Rosa restarts her campaign and Rico goes and plays with more trains. We hop onto the train while it travels to the targeted train which is carrying Bavarium. So why did I have to protect my train that I was on when I could have just flown over to the train that was carrying the Bavarium and just blow it up? Why? Next up, we've got a prison break. However, it's a trap set by Wario himself in a very small and very tight area full of these motherfuckers. Could have been worse. The next mission is ripped right out of a Michael Bay film. Thanks to Sheldon's contact, he found out that there is a Bavarian bomb being loaded up onto a plane ready to leave the country. So, we do the only responsible thing we can do, and we drive into the plane, while it's taking off. Our plane is then flanked by 4 jets ready to blow us out of the sky, except they don't actually fire their missiles. So, Rico then decides to shoot them down. And well, more jets appear that don't do their job. As Dima is trying to disassemble the bomb suddenly activates. So, the only thing we can do in this scenario is drive the truck out of the plane. This game really is Michael Bay's wet dream. Wario then decides to have a full-on tantrum. Mario then has a piss off the side of a wall. Riku and the rebels then have to defend these supplies while Di Ravello's army is trying to destroy them. Zeno then decides he's going to try and escape the rebels and Rico, and that ends poorly. We then kill Zeno after the worst chase scene I've ever seen, solely because I suck at driving. After destroying 70% of all the bases on the main island, we then get the next mission. And you know what that means? Pipes! Now we can safely enter the biggest base in the game without being destroyed by these giant bombs. After that, the central command base for the whole country is now under rebel control. Now, more war, which lasts less than 10 minutes. Oh, and Dima dies. How sad. So, that's it. The war is over. The rebels have taken back their island, and Wario's military is now no more. However, that fat, slimy, mustached Di Ravello is still alive. But not for long. It's then discovered that Di Ravello has went and hid in a fucking volcano. Do you know what that means? That makes a great place for a final boss. Rika then flies into the volcano and the fat mustache man is in there with a fancy helicopter. And it seems Wario is pissed off. Just a few of these and done. He starts talking and I get bored. And that's it. Just Cause 3. A fun game with a silly story and a massive sandbox to play in.